Okay, Pisces rising, there's a total solar eclipse happening in your 6th house of Leo. What will that mean for you specifically? I'm Sook Boy, you're awesome. Let's talk about it. In astrology, an eclipse is a particularly significant event, and it's symbolic of major endings and major beginnings in areas of our life. Now, I'm not saying anything will happen on the particular day of the eclipse. It tends to roll out over the next 6 months, and the area of life that will be impacted is on your health axis, the 6th house of Leo and the 12th house of Aquarius. Let's break it down. Now, the 6th house is the house of physical health, whereas the 12th house is the house of psychological health. And now, with the 6th house being activated, this is going to speak to your acts of service. It's also the acts of service that you do. And a Pisces rising generally have a capacity to take the initiative when serving others, trying to be helpful for others. You can lead the way in that regard. So this eclipse is asking you to analyze the coping mechanisms when it comes to how you operate within your day. And in particular, your lifestyle to do with your physical health. What are your habits? Have you got unhealthy habits that you've been holding on to? Or are you somehow sacrificing yourself to serve others in some way? And is that burning you out? Have you been suffering from stiff or sore hips? Have you been suffering from bloating or inflammation? Time is a finite resource, and many of you are juggling a part-time job or a full-time job and potentially caring for another person at the same time, potentially a child. So we're really thinking about striking that balance between giving and receiving to others. Now, Jupiter is a very generous planet, and it rules your entire chart because it rules Pisces. And it's currently moving through the 6th house of Leo. So you could feel like you're overwhelmed with daily tasks, with things you've taken on, with your schedule. You could find yourself very busy in this time, in other words. Many of you might be feeling like you've outgrown your current job, or the way that you're working has somehow depleted you or exhausted you. Now, Mercury has formed a conjunction with Jupiter and it's opposing Pluto in that 12th house of Aquarius. This could mean that people you are employed by, people that you work with, people that work under you, you probably need to pay closer attention to the tone of voice because you could be on the receiving end of some power dynamics, unspoken power dynamics, potentially betrayal, or some paranoia around the way people are talking to you and in turn the way you are talking to people. Meaning that you could be feeling really restless and you really want to voice something, you really want to change something, potentially working through some kind of crisis management issue at work. But the tone of your voice really matters in this time, and delivering the message in a more constructive way rather than a critical way. Either you or an important relationship in your life could be on the receiving end of some kind of diagnosis for an illness or a sickness. Potentially someone you know quite closely has just been released from hospital. What are the expenses and the logistics around that, and what does that mean for you if you need to take on more acts of service, let's say? Now, Jupiter is your chart ruler. It's in the 6th house and it's also ruling your MC. That MC is the 10th house of your career, public reputation, life path forward, the vision you have of your future, and your subjective perspective of what success is. Have you taken on a huge workload at the moment? And the activities, the acts of service, the tasks you take on, have they not been talked about? And are you being taken for granted at work, in your workplace, or in your career at large? Your work should support your well-being in this time, not be all-consuming. Nutrition, sleep, and stress management will all need attention. Now, Saturn is ruling over your 12th house of psychological health, and it's currently moving or transiting through your 2nd house of Aries. So there's some kind of financial pressure for you to serve others or to be of service so you can generate more income for yourself. So whilst Saturn in this position is a little bit immature with your financial situation, potentially, it's going to form a trine with that Jupiter soon enough. And there's going to be a lot of work coming your way and you could be overwhelmed. So if this isn't making sense yet, it could make sense in the coming months. And it's basically going to give you an opportunity to sacrifice some freedoms for more responsibility, but it will give you access to more income. So if you're already at capacity, then you may need to free up your schedule or at least focus on prioritizing the meaningful work now so you have time and space and energy and resources to get that bag if you need to, if you're given the opportunity to take on more work down the track. And this really means looking at your daily habits, your lifestyle, your routines, your exercise regime, and your diet. Mastering your schedule, your routines now will actually prepare you for the work that is to come very shortly. Stop measuring your worth by how much you sacrifice. Looking after yourself in this time will give you the support that you need to show up consistently in a more sustainable way. Where in your life have you overcommitted yourself, potentially to a friendship circle, to a community, to a cause in that 11th house of Capricorn? What do you feel obligated to say yes to when your body's screaming at you to say no, to rest and digest and process things rather than measuring your worth on your productivity? Sustaining success will be built through consistent habits, not martyrdom and not endless sacrifice. If it's meaningful work you're doing, then don't stop serving others. Help others by all means, but not at the expense of yourself. Additionally, we have a grand trine in your psychological houses, the 4th of Gemini, where Uranus is, the 8th of Libra, where Venus is in its rulership, and Pluto in your 12th house of Aquarius. And in a lot of ways, this is asking for a bit of self-liberation, to be a bit more honest with your capacity. This grand trine will very much give you the ability to ask for help, or at least communicate to other people what your needs are in this time. Can other people help support you, not just you endlessly supporting other people? Now, if you're not experiencing this directly, you could be viewing it or observing it in a close relationship. Someone else is going through some kind of health crisis. Are you just naturally absorbing their situation? Have you defined what is a you problem and what is a their problem? If you're already at capacity, do you need to have a conversation with them so you can free up some time or psychological space so you can actually process your next steps forward, say over the next 6 months or so? You could see a manager or an authority figure actually be dethroned in this time, especially a work colleague. Potentially they were even admitted to hospital or they're suffering some kind of health challenge. Many of you might actually learn of an inheritance or some kind of money coming through very shortly. Now, as a thank you for watching this entire video, please feel free to send me a DM. I'll send you a coupon code for 30 Australian dollars off my natal and transit readings exclusively for new clients. Hope that helps. Okay, bye.